You're watching the Tesla live. Maybe with Mark Coughlin. I don't know. He's not here.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Tesla Live.
He made it during the intro.
Yeah, nice, just in time.
How's everyone doing today? So, we got a lot of stories to talk about today. Got some interesting things, and with me, as always, we have Mr. Casey Green joining us from somewhere in the Mid-Atlantic. How are you doing, sir?
Doing quite well. I got the new video setup going. I can look down the camera and still see everybody, which is nice. And this weekend, we wasted, an hour figuring out why the audio didn't work.
Oh, wow.
But
you got it figured out.
We did, and thankfully, people stuck around and sat through it with me, which was amazing. I do not deserve you guys.
You have some dedicated viewers.
Yes.
Also with us, as per usual, Mr. Patrick Connor joining us from the West Coast. How are you today, sir?
Hello, I'm good. I missed you guys. I missed last week. Brian White was here. I hate that guy. No, actually, I love Brian White, but YouTube rivalry gets more viewers for both, so. It does. I do have to say I've been working on my deck, and that in the Model Y, a 2x6x8 fits great. You can throw a few of those in there. Just throw a towel over the center console, and then just stack as much wood as you want on there.
Speaking of stuff that fits in a Tesla, 4 of these. Oh, you can't see it behind me. These super special sales of garage selling on Costco fit in the Model X while still having 2 baby seats.
Nice. That's pretty handy.
It is. Although had it been a Cybertruck, I would be able to just pile them all in there, and close the tonneau, and nobody would have had to lift their feet.
As long as you made it work.
Yes, indeed. So you do what you can with what you got, right? So
right.
As Patrick said, sometimes it involves getting a towel to protect the console, or fold the front seat back a little bit on the passenger side and board it up all the way to almost the front of the car. So you just got to be careful, though. You don't want the load sliding when you're driving. That's no good.
I didn't try any 10 or 12 foot boards. That might have been a little more tricky, but the 8s were easy peasy.
Exactly. Well, let's get to the news of the week, and let's see what we got here. We've got quite a bit of stuff has been happening. We got yes indeed. The first story we've got is about the new recording that Tesla will be sharing with us, and we found out who will be getting the new recording. Now, of course,
only the newest of the new.
Yeah, already the people that are using SentryMode and such, you're getting the rear camera recording. That's what you're seeing typically. They're adding the B pillar, which of course is the pillar in between the front and the back doors. That's the B pillar. And only certain Teslas will get that. And it turns out it's anyone that has hardware 4 that will be getting that. If you do not have hardware 4, no B pillar recording for you at this time. So
if you got a new car with a old FSD chip, they don't care. Let's go.
Nope, hardware 4.
I just got this update yesterday. Mm-hmm. And so today was the first SentryMode event that it recorded with that. So it was just somebody parked next to me and got out of the car. And it's like, oh, look, you can follow them around a whole lot easier. There's because with the old 4 cameras, there were blind spots.
Huge.
And
at least for us.
Right. From what it recorded with SentryMode, that doesn't, obviously with FSD or autopilot, it was using all the cameras, but that it didn't record all the cameras for you to use. And I have a little story. Last week, I was stopping to pick up dinner, and I parked in a parking spot, and I noticed long story short, then I'm driving home after that, and I noticed something flapping under my windshield wiper. And I'm thinking, oh no, somebody put a sell your Tesla note or something on there. And I drive home, and luckily the note stayed. And I get out and I grab the note and I look at it, and it says nice park job. And I'm like, what? Oh, so the part I didn't tell you earlier was when I parked, there was Uber Eats or Grubhub delivery person who had this crummy little car and had parked diagonally over 2 spots, and I was parked next to them. And so apparently he came out and he saw that note in his car, took it off and stuck it under my car, and then left.
It was him.
So
okay.
It was not for me at all. But yeah, that was. But so then I'm like, okay, I want to go see the footage. I wonder
if he thought you did it.
But then SentryMode didn't record it. I mean, like normally if somebody parks next to me or comes up and touches the car, it would have recorded all that. But in this case, they were able to stick that note under my windshield wiper, and there was no recording of it. And so this update is, next time this happens to me, I'm going to be able to have that recorded and see what who this fool was. It was thinks they can mess with my car.
Even this was on the before the update that you got that
yes, that was last week before the update that happened.
You also got whether or not you got the cameras. Let me see this. Maybe if you got the side pillars, you definitely also got the this, but it might just be the people with the new chip. And it might not matter which FSD you have on it. With the Ryzen chip, you got an expanded view for the repeater cameras and the rear view. They all got wider and they blend together in one cohesive view in the rear view that pops up.
I did notice that the rear view was much more clear than it was previously, and I thought they just improved some of their filtering algorithm or gamma correction or who knows what. Yeah, exactly. And but you're saying that it's actually stitching multiple cameras together into one wider image?
Well, the cameras themselves are wider, like what it's looking at, and then it stitches them together. Like somebody got really close for some reason to the rear camera, the actual rear camera, and there was an artifact, and they watched the wave shape and was able to realize that this is a composite.
Right. Very cool. Yeah, I like it. When I was backing out of my garage, I was like, wow, this is so much more clear than it was before.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was that discussion that they've actually cleared up the cameras too in some cases where it's a little bit more higher resolution, it appears, when you're looking at the result that the camera records. So there could be that as well. But if you're not hardware 4, guess what? Welcome to Legacy World.
I can tell you what it's like.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there's, obviously vehicles with hardware 4. It's going to be like the Model Y, Model 3 Highland. You've got as Patrick had said, though, you could have an older Model 3 as long as it's got the hardware 4 update or the chip that was hardware 4 friendly. You could have had an older Model Y which will not have hardware 4.
There you go.
But you could have an older Model Y that is hardware 4.
Well, but you could have a Model 3 that didn't ship with hardware 4 because of the shortage rather. Or you could have a Model Y that ships during the transition, and then you could have a hardware 3 board in it as well, even though you've got the new MCU CPU.
As much as I love their on the fly updates, this is one thing where it gets a little tricky. Okay, you can't just say model year 23 had this, 24 had that. It's a moving target.
It certainly is. It leads to interesting discussions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I got an update yesterday too. It was minor features, and no, not because I'm legacy. It's because I already got the stuff. Because
Nice.
I am still at the front of my cohort because this dum-dum bought it, but it was only going up, and then it went down for like 6 months. So their concession to me was, all right, well, whenever you're included in something that's going out, you'll be at the front of the line. And now that FSD is kind of independent of the software for the car, I'm back at the front of the line again. I
Nice.
kind of like it. Even though, for some reason, I can't look at all my cameras through the phone at all. Get in there.
Yep, it's going to be hit and miss for us that are not part of the Hardware 4 club. As Tesla rolls out things, there may be some of these things that are added to it later in time, but there may be things that it's too intense for a older Hardware 3, or in my case, a 2.5 to be able to handle some of the updates. So that's just part of having in this case, a 7-year-old car in my case.
Right, but you're still getting software updates, so it's not like you're left out of everything. You're just they're still making improvements. They're still giving you updates. In fact, our 2018 Model 3 got this update before the Y, and I'm like, hey, I was looking at that, and I'm like, why did that? And then boom, I got the alert that the Y could get the update. So it's just like it heard me whining and gave it to me.
And said, "You are part of the club this time, Patrick. Just this time."
The situation with that is quite fun to watch. Sometimes you guys get stuff late because it's harder or something. Like CyberTruck, they still don't have the full suite, even though that's their flagship now. Even though they don't equip it like it. The reason I say that is Model X is still getting the favorability with it being like the Elon edition or something, but it leads me to be curious as far as, will there be a new X and what's on it, and then will there be a new S, because that's the one that Elon actually drives himself, and he's not got part of his football team with him. And so that brings up the question to me now of, what do you think is going to happen to those of us with some combination of legacy hardware? Do you think that they will skip Hardware 4 for us and go straight to 5? Or they're going to start selling 5 and, oh, by the way, here's some extra 4s. We made them fit in your car now.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Typically with each generation of hardware, the chips are lower power, and actually initially they might cost more, but when there's almost always a process shrink, whatever the latest TSMC process is. So I'm going straight to Hardware 5 might be their answer. Who knows?
It might be. The FSD boards are done by Samsung, though. Tesla design, Samsung foundry.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that when it comes to Tesla having to move some legacy vehicles over to a different processor as time permits, they've just shown their tendency to kind of drag their feet at that time-wise. Casey, with the Model X, as FSD becomes locked in for more and more, there is no talk at this point, right, of the Model X getting an update for the hardware in order to be able to handle that, even though, of course, it was sold with the capability of FSD. And if that is not the case, then Tesla's got to make you whole at some point. But what that point is, we don't know.
And both revisions of X are the perfect car outside of Robotaxi for this. Remember the Paint It Black demo back in 2016 that later caused so much consternation? The guy just gets out of the car and walks into the building, and the car is able to close its own doors and go about its business because it has 4 powered open and closed doors, and it can do its thing. So the Cybercab brought that back with doors that go like this instead of like this or like this. and it's the only other choice right now that makes sense. I know that the Y is the best-selling car, period, but it leaves them open to people. So the doors might not get shut correctly, or they might have trouble opening them, or all this and that. So I have a feeling that the Y will probably only be available in the situation as supervised, like not as supervised, but like where there's a human on board. And then later on, if we put our cars in the fleet, and not Tesla themselves will probably not want that.
Yeah, certainly not at the beginning, but it will come eventually. And there is, again, I don't know how long it's going to take Tesla to go back to the previous fleet of vehicles that have been promised FSD, because of course, in reality, that amount of vehicles gets smaller and smaller every month that goes by, because of course people are upgrading, people are selling, people are moving away from a Model X, getting a different vehicle or another Tesla. But if the longer that Tesla waits, the less vehicles they have to retrofit as time goes along. So I just don't know what their plan is. And of course, they're not letting it known what their plan is either.
Right. Yeah. I'd be surprised if they did it this year, the hardware updates. But next year, especially if they roll out FSD in June in even limited markets, but still that is when they know what the hardware requirements to allow that to happen are going to be. And that's when I think they'll start planning the upgrade boards, and then they should roll out next year.
Yeah. You know what I couldn't have done in a Model Y? Carry them shelves. Not without, also all for children, the children and the adults there. All right, kids, you're going to stay at Costco. I'll be right back.
Yeah, you stay at the hardware store, kids. We'll be back for you later.
Take an Uber. What, you're 3? You can't do that?
Oh, man. Well, speaking of another update, again, Casey mentioned CyberTruck. Today it was unveiled that Tesla will be providing CyberTruck owners with an FSD free trial. But the time length is the surprise. They're offering them, those who have a CyberTruck, a year of FSD on a free trial.
So these would be people who didn't get the Foundation series and managed to get it without FSD somehow. All 12 of them.
But a year. What's the
because usually it's like a month or 3 at the most.
Yeah, like that's an incredible amount of time. Again, we have no stats on who chooses FSD and who doesn't choose FSD as a percentage, but that's interesting that they have gone that far to say, all right, you're buying our flagship truck, you're going to have a year on FSD free of charge. Obviously, the truck has margin in it to do that, the cost of the vehicle. But it is interesting that they're going to push it out a year in that case. And I wonder if the year will come to anything else, or is it just the premier vehicle at the time?
It might just be them, because there's less of them to worry about having to do this. Because if you did that to the Model Y, it would show up in the balance sheet. And I wonder. Go ahead.
So it might actually be a way for them to upsell. So I love driving with FSD. I use it often. Anytime I'm doing a road trip, it just removes a lot of the cognitive load, and I could. So if you have it for a year, you might not have bought it in the first place. But then once you've had it that long, you don't want to give it up. So I think it will increase the uptake of this feature, or the connect rate, or whatever you want to call it. So I actually think
there you go.
Yeah, they should do this for the S and X as well as the Cybertruck. All 3 of those are, they're those are not the cheap vehicles. And if it works out well there, and they do see that they have a higher attach rate, then they could consider doing it for 3 months or 6 months on the 3 and Y. And if that works out well, also that they end up selling more FSD because of that program, then extend it to the whole year.
Yeah, that's another good way to look at it, because I was thinking, every time they have these new updates, it's like, oh, Cybertruck not included. Oh, Cybertruck will get it later. oh yeah, you might as well have just switched from your legacy Model X to this thing. But it is larger, and it does have different dynamics. So
Yes.
and it's just like my car. There are less of them on the road. So when you're trying to knock out the market share, they're not as much of a priority. So this could be kind of a way to do that.
If you compare how many people are new to the Tesla brand in the Cybertruck compared to their existing vehicles, because I think a lot of the SX 3 and Y are people buying their second or third Tesla, but I'm sure there are certainly people who've had Teslas that are buying Cybertrucks, but I also think the Cybertruck appeals to a different market.
Right.
So it's
a bigger group on this one.
Yeah. So in some cases, it's a halo vehicle bringing in new customers to the brand. And so they wouldn't be familiar with FSD. So maybe that's one of the things that makes sense here, to also say, hey, this FSD stuff is pretty cool. You should try it.
Yeah. And then if if everything does go the way that Musk has promised this time for FSD going into June, Q2, or half two, sorry.
This year for sure.
Right.
2016, no. 2017, no. 2018, come on, really? No.
If it's finally right, then the conversion rates are going to be huge on this thing. So,
but it would be interesting to know if, as Patrick has mentioned, if you get FSD for free and you have it for a long period of time, like a year, does that enable you to use it more? And of course, once you're using it more, you start to love it. You start to understand it. You start to not be able to do without it. And at the end of the year, you have to buy it because you want to have that same experience going forward. So it's a way to rent it and say, you know what, I really can't do without it. So
yeah, I don't want to lose my co-pilot.
At the end of the trial, you would buy it. So, but we also heard, of course, in that last earnings call, one of the execs indicating that FSD is underpriced.
Oh yeah. It's only going up. Would have worked well had it progressed as fast as he thought it was. Because basically it was they add a feature, he raised the price like $4,000. Add a feature, raise the price, and then he got ahead of himself, and then they had to walk it back. But I'm curious now also if that goes to the new Cybertruck long range, or the new models that'll at least share a frame with the 3 and Y, if not be 3 and Ys with extra stripping.
Yeah.
But, I'm still leaning towards them being like the Crown Vic. You got the Crown Vic, the Mercury, and the Lincoln Town Car, and then the police and taxi edition.
On your chair.
Yeah, that's the producer, as Brian has said, of the show. That's Moto. With her, yeah, exactly.
The camera, not at the screen.
I like the comment in the where'd it go? Where is it? Oh yeah, here it is. Let's show this one. So this is Tesla using drug dealer tactics to get them hooked by free samples.
Yep. Yeah. Exactly. The first hit's always free. Yeah.
I also like Mark's Mark P's suggestion that they might go for hardware 4.5. So just like they would. I started with hardware 2.5, the refreshed hardware 2. Mark's got that in his car, and with that, what they did with that was it was a hardware 2, but it had a little extra oomph to it. There was more redundancy, and cameras were just a little bit clearer, that sort of thing. And I could see them doing a 4.5, even if they still come out with a 5 in the same time frame.
There's a possibility because, of course, as we know, that Tesla does not wait for a model year to make changes. There may be, some modifications they're making for a certain product or for certain for FSD, for example, being able to do a certain thing. They may require a little more horsepower. They can roll that out in a half version as opposed to a full. Absolutely.
Right. Or if maybe 5 is doing that the compute as a service thing. And that way, if they give us a 4.5 and it doesn't have the extra juice to do that, they don't have to figure out how to pay us for it or how to get us to approve or not approve it because it's just not there.
One more up.
Yeah, exactly.
One more up.
One's up because of nighttime.
Do you think there would ever come a point where, say, someone trades in a hardware 2.5 or hardware 3 car that to Tesla, that they would then resell it, but say it's not FSD capable? Because if they did offer you FSD on it, then they would have to also offer you the upgrade to the newer hardware, maybe at a cost.
He come out.
But I don't know. The whole, Mark, you mentioned how, every year there are people that are upgrading, but that doesn't take those vehicles off the road. They just get new owners. So
I would see them doing an AP1 on it. Be like, hey, this is got auto steer. This has got navigate on autopilot. Or hey, this has got FSD supervised light edition, and they just won't offer an upgrade for it.
Yeah, like I look at my car at a 2.5. What happens if, say, next year I decide, okay, I'm going in for FSD at this point. So I buy it. Yes, there was a $1,500 charge or whatever to upgrade the computer at that time. But, of course, I'm going to need hardware 4 in order to have all the bells and whistles. And there's been no talk of them upgrading vehicles to 4, or there's been talk about it, but no one's done it. So how far back can you go with that? Can you do a 2.5 to a 4, or is that just not possible?
I assume it has to be, because when the 2.5 cars, when those were sold, Musk on stage at the Model 3 event said it has all the hardware necessary for FSD. And that has turned out not to be true, but that doesn't mean it wasn't something you assumed when you bought it, because you heard from Elon himself at a Tesla event and took that to be gospel. There are even people that have gotten the hardware upgrade for free because they sued and said, look, I was told it had all the hardware necessary, so why are you now telling me I have to pay $1,500 for more hardware upgrades? So I think they have to upgrade the 2.5 vehicles if that's what you want. Now, whether or not you have to pay, that's still up for debate. But
yeah.
Derek, right now that is accurate, but once there's an upgrade, then it will not be accurate anymore, because there'll be an upgrade. But what's amazing and it's still a little bit surprising to see is they've got 2012, 2013 cars that are they're still getting some aspects of the newest updates. And there was that loaner car that they let me have that I was confused what kind of version it was of FSD. It's like what's wrong with this thing? And it was AP1, but they had updated the visuals finally for the first time in years. And I was like, but why is it acting like this? And then I get out and I see it only had one eye. I was like, oh, well, that'll do it.
Yeah. Well, it is going to be interesting, because as this train continues to go along, and as we've seen, Tesla has pushed the hardware to its breaking point when it comes to FSD and said, you know what? It doesn't make sense for us to try to retrofit it into a version 3. You're going to have hardware 4, and we'll worry about the version 3 cars going forward. But the longer it takes to get FSD out on the road, you're right, we could run into a 5 in the future if they're not successful in rolling this out halfway through the year, or that they are successful and discover that, my gosh, there is an issue. We need to rework something, and then we need more hardware, more power, or something. And there could be a problem like that. And then, of course, that's going to require them to make more changes to more vehicles that are sub that hardware type at that time.
Mm-hmm. I wonder if there are any stats on how many hardware 2.5 and 3 vehicles are out on the road today.
Oh, I know they have the stats. But they're not sharing them.
Yeah, and then what percentage of those have FSD, or the owner has purchased FSD? That would be some interesting numbers.
Well, that number we know was low, because Musk said, oh, well, thankfully we don't have to do many of these upgrades.
Right, yeah. So that means it's, 20% of the
what does he think is low,
million? Or no idea what it'd be 2018, 19, plus up to 2023.
2019, 2020,
yeah. 4.
Yeah. Exactly.
I'm curious, though, what that... if at some point we'll start to see them finally go back to retrofits, because they didn't used to be afraid of retrofits or have a policy against them. when we got into the brand. Like my 2016, it got some stuff that they would have never done today, and then they also still continued to offer the dual charger function.
We're doing Daddy.
To the point where we actually took the money we'd saved for that, and instead of putting it into the Model S, we used it as the order fee for the Model X.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, on to the next story, and it's about that hardware for car. The Model Y has been introduced at the base level in the US. That's a rear-wheel drive entry-level vehicle, and it's going to enter the US market at $44,990. So just under $45,000. The brand new Model Y Juniper, with, of course, a baseline being a rear-wheel drive car, is being introduced under 45 grand. And as Tesla starts to ramp up and continue to ramp up the volume of Model Ys, it's good to see that that they're offering a bit of a discount to get that baseline car out there. And under 45 grand, I don't think that's going to be a real issue in selling it. It's the last year's, volume car of the year worldwide. And it's a pretty sought after vehicle, especially with the upgrades, the quieter glass, the new suspension, the new lighting package, all that stuff is going to help with it. And of course, a price under 45 grand is certainly going to help them sell it.
And it's eligible for the federal tax credit, $7,500. So that brings it to $37,490. So that's a pretty sweet ride for that price.
Yep.
And here's one thing that I didn't know. The range is longer on the rear wheel drive. So I'm looking at the website now. The article that you shared has a different number, but if you go to Tesla.com and order the Model Y order page for the all-wheel drive, which is what was out before this, the estimated EPA range is 327 miles. For the rear-wheel drive, add another 30 miles to that, 357. So that's pretty sweet.
So that's a pretty significant upgrade in the range factor. That's over 10%.
Yeah, well, it's just under 10%, but that's pretty nice. And in the past, I mean, like with the X, if you had the dual motor, you got longer range because the motors were slightly different, and then it could optimize which did you need for whatever you were doing at that time. And one would have, so they could pick which was the most efficient if you're cruising at a certain speed. But here, with the Y, the rear wheel is the most efficient, which I find interesting.
Yeah, the Y, the 3, and the Cybertruck have this phenomenon. But the actually, no, the 3 has always been that way because Mark's is the longest range at that battery size. And then they gave him a free upgrade that he may or may not have actually received, depending on which group he was in. From 10 to 25, and
on the way.
325 miles, 310 miles rated range. But like you said, with the different motor optimizations, I've got the large motor on mine, so everything below 65 miles per hour under most circumstances is just the rear motor, and until I can see it on the speedometer, you can see it swap to just the front motor, again, under the right circumstances. Otherwise, they kind of share, but usually if it's like you have to be towing a certain amount up a grade, or stomp the pedal, and then it will split. But at some point, they had switched it from, because probably right there with the permanent magnet motor with the Model 3, where just having the rear motor was enough, but they even then later put that back to the S and the X, where when they got the 3 motors with the upgrade, they also became the rear wheel drive. When they offered it was the longer range model, and we also see that on the semi, or at least the Mark 1 semi anyway, where it would clutch out 2 of the motors and just run on one to get the most range.
Right.
Yeah, get it up to speed with all the motors, and then knock the others out so they get more efficient as the rig is up to speed and doesn't require as much power.
Right. You don't need all that torque when you're just cruising. You certainly do to accelerate with a load, but just cruising, you don't need it all. So, I mean, some of the main reasons to get all-wheel drive they don't even apply to a Tesla vehicle because they have such great traction control. As Mark has demonstrated in a parking lot in the snow, the rear-wheel drive has great traction. And
even with just regular tires.
Yeah. And normally it's rear-wheel drive, so you think, oh no, I mean you have to have front-wheel drive to have the great traction, and that is absolutely not the case with an EV. Everything you knew about ICE vehicles becomes the wrong thinking for EVs.
Exactly. Remember in the old days, if you had a rear-wheel drive vehicle, you would throw a couple of bags of sand or something over the back axle to help you with weight distribution. But with the Tesla, the computer keeps up so quickly with the wheel spin that it doesn't allow you to spin out. You can possibly spin out if you try hard enough. And of course, I wouldn't subscribe to anyone that you do not get snow tires in the winter. But it does give you some extra ability if you're out there and you haven't got the tires changed yet, and you experience an early snowstorm, you can rest assured that the traction control, if you drive responsibly, will keep you in a straight line for, basically for the drive if you're not trying to spin it out.
Yeah, those low speed, get home safe situation, and then you get your tires after that. The other thing you get with the rear wheel drive on these three vehicles is weight savings of at least 200 pounds, if not more, and a couple $1,000s of savings because they're you got an extra inverter and all the electronics that go into that. So
yeah, it's $4,000 cheaper for the new Model Y compared to the all-wheel drive. $4,000
on sales price. Imagine what it is on cost for Tesla.
That'll buy a few supercharging events.
Exactly. Yeah. So next, talk a little bit about Cybercab castings at Giga Texas. So there was a photograph recently taken of the outside of Giga Texas where they've got some of the storage area. And it appears that we've got a bunch of front castings that have appeared in a pile, a stacked pile for Cybercab. And of course, this leads us, right along to the middle of the year release of the Cybercab and FSD, because Tesla has been telling us that June is the month. And here we are sitting in early May. So we've got a month and a bit. So it might be 4 weeks away, might be 5 weeks away before they're starting to roll this out. And of course, they've already got their ducks in a row for Austin City approving the Cybercab to run there. And this is just more evidence that it's being ramped up and getting ready. Now, we don't know the numbers yet, but it sounds like from this report that we could have hundreds of vehicles on the road in Austin alone. And of course, this will be the first market, and it makes complete sense. You've got your headquarters right there. They're going to be certainly watching the fleet from electronically and following them around and making sure everything's going correctly. And if there is any issue hardware-wise, they've got the backup. The service department is completely familiar with the vehicle. And of course, the construction group is there that made them in the first place, and they could address any problems quickly. So not a surprise that Austin is the city of note, and that it looks like they're gearing up and getting ready to start.
On Brian's comment there about maybe a bigger frunk, I would contend perhaps maybe a smaller frunk, or remove it, just like they did on the Cybertruck. They went rear-wheel drive, got all this extra space, no under bed junk.
We're jumping back to the last topic, but
yeah,
if they take out the front motor, why wouldn't that leave you more room for a larger front?
If they take out the air suspension and the rear power and all that other stuff, why don't you get a bigger trunk?
Well, the Model Y doesn't have air suspension, right?
Right, but on the Cybertruck, the rear-wheel drive Cybertruck doesn't have any of the goodies, and they made the trunks. They eliminated it. It's just a flat load floor.
My guess is that the frunks are the same, just because they already have all those parts. And
I would have thought that with the truck too, like just make it the same, but they made it worse.
Huh. Okay, so back to Mark's new topic here. My guess is that if you're in Austin and if there's any disengagements in Austin, those are getting scrutinized immediately, and that's probably one of the best places in the world for FSD performance today because of that.
You disengage because you saw a happy hour special, and you go turn in the parking lot, and next thing you know, as you're parking, like 4 Teslas have shown up.
Ashoka's calling you. Why did you do that? Tell me.
Oh, I'm sorry. I've got a legacy car. You don't care why I just disengaged. Sorry. So if you're familiar with when you disengage an FSD, it'll ask you why you did that. We've never been asked.
Oh, yeah. I get those all the time. There was one today in a parking lot. It wanted to turn onto the street, but it turned one lane too soon, and I grabbed it and had it, and was like, why did you disengage? Because it was turning in the wrong place.
Yeah, that's my favorite answer.
Mm-hmm.
Get down effed up, AA Ron.
I wonder how many of those are still going into Tesla. Like how many of those disengagements are alerting people at the control centers that the car is making a left or a incorrect right. The owner took over and they put in an example of why they made the corrective measure. I wonder how many of those are still flowing in. And as Patrick has said before, it would be real interesting to be able to see the data of people that are manually disengaging the autopilot for whatever reason, or the FSD for whatever reason, and seeing if that percentage has been dropping rapidly over time.
Yeah,
my guess is they still collect them all, but then they decide which ones go into the next training round, because they say, okay, we're going to work on this. Let's pull in X number of examples of that and put those into the training set. And they would probably even scrutinize, okay, here's what the driver corrected, and here's what we were trying to do, and that's why it's wrong. And anyway, well, my guess is just that they call it fleet learning, right? Where they can say, we're looking for an example of blah. And instead of fishing for new ones, if you can just collect all the disengagements you've had in the past, selecting or preparing a training set for AI is the most important thing to get the right output. So yeah, making sure that you have exactly the right, because you don't want to overfit. You want to make sure that you get the right number of things compared to other things. It's very tricky.
Yeah, and they may not ask us what's going on, but they certainly are still watching and collecting, because on the days where I correct the car, it sends a lot more data back home than on the days where I just let it ride. And it sends a lot those days too if we see anything novel, but it sends far less if I don't interact with it. One case that I really like to point out is where I called it trying to jump into traffic. I don't know that it was going to stop as it reached the road edge, but it made an aggressive movement from a T-style intersection, usually even a blind one, and with gusto, like it's going to accelerate. And it's like you may be a performance car, but even you don't have enough room to pull this off. And even if you did, you freak them out.
Right.
Yeah. So what I've noticed now is more often, not always, sometimes it still just wants to leap before it looks, or at least it feels that way. Because when it's doing that, I'm not looking at the diagram.
You're watching what's happening in the real world, aren't you?
Yeah. In the oncoming car. But what I found is car or no car, I want to say about 75% of the time, it does a little pause if it was a blind turn, and I couldn't see, and its eye is behind my head on the left facing view, or the right if it's depending on how that's set up. It'll just it won't give it the gusto. It'll like not a creep, but you can tell that it gets let off and it's checking, and then it's going to go. Right. And then it may be the exact same code, but you can feel now that, okay, I don't feel this thing's going to jump into traffic if that car is still coming, and that helps. And then I'm still stopping it. Like, whoa, on the ones where it doesn't make that maneuver. So they're doing something with it, and that's pretty cool to see. Yeah.
Well, again, getting closer to that June date, and of course, it's not your cars, our cars, that are going to be introduced in this June rollout. It's going to be the Cybercabs only.
Oh, but that's gonna be mine. They can't
I
make them
don't.
nice.
I don't think June is going to be Cybercab. My understanding is it's going to kick off with Model Ys initially,
but not our cars. It'll be Tesla cars.
Absolutely, it will be Tesla's vehicles, but I don't think it's going to be Cybercabs. I'm sure they're working on Cybercabs. I mean, we saw that, but when the robotaxi service kicks off, my guess is it's Model Ys, maybe some S's and X's as well. But
we might see a mixture, but it's definitely whatever we see is probably going to lean heavily to Model Y. Because look at it this way: best selling car in the world. It's a lot easier to just kind of go incognito, because even if you've got the words emblazoned on the side, as long as it's not like a graphic design, people don't pay attention on the road. So it's a lot easier to blend them and hide them. And if something happens, they're shaking their fist and they are being aggressive with the computer rather than the person sitting in the seat.
And of course, they'll be easy to identify, because just like the movie Airplane, they're going to have that autopilot sitting blown up in the driver's seat.
OTTO, auto. Yes. Casey, you mentioned earlier how the X has the automatic doors.
Yes.
I wonder how hard it would be to put door motors into a Y for robotaxi.
For Tesla, not at all. But for us, it would be something you could do with an aftermarket crew, probably.
Yeah.
Well, you've even seen aftermarket 3s and Ys have the ability to have the doors open and close on their own. I've seen that in different car shows.
Yeah, I've seen them open. And then, of course, Tesla themselves added the unlatching, so those kits can use that. And I've seen the soft close on the 3 and the Y. Although, despite the fact that the car can do it, it just slams the doors. Bang! But if you don't close it enough, like you just get it close enough, and then you get a soft pull. But if you have it like unlatched, like several centimeters or an inch, it'll still thud it up. It's really weird. Like
Brian has said that he's seen autopilot at a Tesla event. So, Brian, if you've got that photo, share it with us on our X account. We'd love to see that photo.
Yeah,
that would be cool. So all these, I'm very curious what Brian has to say about this. Those castings that we're seeing that are reportedly for Cybercab, could they really be for the Redwood vehicle, or as we've been calling it, Model Next, or Model 2, or Model 2.5, or is that really what they're for? And we're going to hear about it sometime later this year.
I think that Brian was onto something when he said Cybercab can't do it. But what I suspect, what we're seeing when we see a Cybercab with a wheel, or these frames, like you said, if they're Redwood frames, is the same thing that I'm suspecting is happening with the new models that happen to share a frame with 3Y, where they've got the same bones, but they're not the same car.
Yeah,
because that one, it's not that hard to put in, a larger motor, proper battery, but you have to plan ahead to get it all done right. So it's actually fun to drive and to be able to make that statement. We don't make slow cars.
Yeah. So Brian's saying I have a chance. Unlikely, but not impossible. Yes. All right. I'll take that.
I think what would be fun is if somebody, once we get unsupervised, for somebody to just recreate the autopilot sequence with the blowing him up. Just make a video out of it.
Yeah, you have a chance. That's absolutely correct. And Brian just sent me on X the photo of Otto in a Tesla. So I'm going to, as we're live on air, I am going to share that photo on the account right now and just call it Auto FSD.
Yes.
Thanks.
Do we want
Brian at Futuraza for the photo.
Did we want to show the photo of the castings?
Yep, go ahead.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Okay, let me get something to open it with. Copy. And I guess we'll do a new tab here. And paste. And paste. Oh, I copied the picture. Copy the link. And paste and go.
Either way, this is going to be a really interesting summer when this starts rolling out.
Yep. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Paste and go. Then let's go to share screen. Yeah.
And the picture has been shared on X if you want to see Odho.
And so allegedly, these are Cybercab.
The Cybercrab. That should be there. You know how they have the owl when you buy some, or the hedgehog. That's for if you ever buy one of these, there should be a Cybercrab somewhere stamped in there.
That'd be fun.
Yeah.
And so some folks are saying, well, this is not a whole car or whatever. But when you remember that they did have the technology for an exoskeleton, even if they didn't do a full exoskeleton, and you still got the you can do the cast floor, and then the paint impregnated panels. There might not need to be as much to this frame as there is on the others.
Well, that's funny. We were just talking about carapaces. So an exoskeleton. The crab is a perfect metaphor.
It is.
Exactly. Brian just shared some information with us. He just got a DM. Breaking news that the CyberTruck range extender has been canceled.
So now I don't got to buy it. If I ever get the CyberTruck.
And that is really not too much of a surprise, as we started to see it being taken off the website previously. There hasn't been a whole lot of talk about it, and it's now something that looks like it's not going to be.
Spoiler, Casey, that was the tease to get them to go follow us on X.
Oh, I'm sorry. Follow us on X, and you can see stuff like this. The question now is it done, Brian, or is it just for the folks that have not yet ordered it? Because it was still showing on the page for a while, even though it was not available to purchase anymore.
Right.
I have a feeling that they're not going to produce it for a small crowd.
Are they going to get their money back? Or are they going to get a new battery?
Oh, they'll get their money back, obviously. But
I'd want to get rid of the whole truck if I got it for towing, and all of a sudden it can't tow where I need to go. So
right.
I'd be happy with them upgrading my battery for the charge, and core return the old one.
That does create a problem for people that bought it, assuming that later they'd be able to extend the range.
And why wouldn't you be assuming it? They offered it.
It was right there on the page. You could pre-order it.
Right, and it's not the same as FSD or any of the other companies that say, hey, this software is coming soon. This was hardware. They said it was engineered. They said it was coming later. But now they're acting like it was software. At face value, we don't know the details of what they're doing for the folks who did order it yet.
Yeah, once they took it off of the website, we knew something was going on, and that this was one of the likely outcomes. The other one was that they were redesigning it. It was going to be something completely different, or maybe even better than what they'd initially showed, because maybe the battery tech has improved since whenever we first saw this announced.
Yeah.
But I hope they do release the specs and allow third parties to create a pack that can go there.
Yeah. Or I'd even be happy with this. Give me a dual motor or Cyber Beast with the rear-wheel drive, lack of the underfloor storage, and then put a double back in there. And then it's not an extender. That's just what we have. It's properly plumbed. It handles the voltages correctly, and nobody's saying, "Hey, I lost some bed." They're just saying, "Hey, I lost the trunk," but yet now I can tow my stuff the whole way, because you don't see too many people complaining about the range unless they're towing, or if they are like borrowing it and they're a total gas mindset where I need to be able to stop in 3 minutes. And
didn't Shaq just complain about the range and dump his Cybertruck because of that?
Shaq?
No?
I can see him being of that mindset of I need to be done in 3 minutes. I can't be bothered to stop. Although the truck was built specifically to fit him and Andre.
Exactly. Well, guys, I think we've run a little bit long, so we're
sorry.
going to wrap it up. Let's go to shout-outs. Patrick, what do you got for us?
As always, I'm with the Oregon Electric Vehicle Association. You can find us at oeva.org, and I blog occasionally at carswithcords.net about my future free from fossil fuels.
And of course, if you'd like to follow us throughout the week and see what's happening, please subscribe to our X feed at The Tesla Life. You can see updates between the shows. Casey, what do you got for us?
All right. Catch us on the Tesla Life Express on Friday and Monday at 7. Catch me and whoever else wants to show up on Sunday at youtube.com/Casey Green at 1:10 Eastern and PM ish. And
no audio check this time. It's
no
it's
audio
covered.
check this time. I figured out what's going on with it, and I was joking with Patrick that I'm in Port 2. They call it secondary. I was like, I should probably change to primary, and I was like, yeah. Let's not mess with audio again.
If it ain't broke.
Exactly. And so then after that, catch us back here live. We'd love to see you. Like Brian said, give us a thumbs up and all that good stuff, the YouTube stuff.
Exactly. Thumbs up and subscribe if you can. It doesn't cost anything. It helps us out immensely. Would really appreciate it. Want to thank Lee Moon for the music we use every week. Want to thank Brian from Futuraza for joining us in the chat room, along with Derek. And who else did we have in the chat today that was voicing in? Jose, Mark P. Hockey Day was with us today. Well, who else? Of course, Lee Moon was there, and JT24, and Derek. Thanks so much. Budget was with us as well. So thanks to everyone that joined us and said hello or commented in the chat room. Makes it fun. So
missed you free, Slow Cuber.
That's
Slow
right.
Cuber, you got to come back next time.
All right, everyone.
Day.
Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll catch you next time and find out what's happening in the Tesla life.
Casting 170 pieces of car. That's true. Look at that.
Stay positive. Test negative.
You guys with the last minute comments. I don't know if I'm going to roll through them like next time, but we're already here now. Oh, yeah, it's true. The weight distribution. Let's check. All right, the song is the end before we do. We'll cut it anyway.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye now.